It was safe to say that nothing was really going according to plan at this point. Unexpected guests had arrived for the X-Men as they were attempting their rescue of the Scarlet Witch. This could have been their only chance, their primary opportunity to set things right once and for all. However, external forces had decided to get into the way of that, in the form of Magneto, Juggernaut, and the one known as Sabretooth. 3 battles were taking place all over Kyoto. The professor, who found he and a few of his students trapped in the clutches of Magneto, with backup coming in the form of Usui, Miyamura, Sakuta, and Ryuji. A second battle happening in the downtown district of Kyoto, the Juggernaut going on a rampage, with only the likes of Jun, Tomo, Naoto, Nagatoro, Jiro, and Akari there to stop him. Finally, Logan, otherwise known as the Wolverine, stepped to protect both Yukana and Junichi as they had been ambushed by Sabretooth. The battles were taking place simultaneously in different parts of the city, with everyone fending for their lives. Of course, for the professor, his students' safety was his number one priority, but he still found himself in contact with Wanda, who was desperately trying to break free. For Hori, Misaki, and for Mai, they tried their best to back up Taiga as she led the all-out assault against Magneto. Magneto proved to be a rather troublesome opponent to deal with. His skill and mastery over electromagnetism and using it to its refined state made his defenses nearly impenetrable for Taiga and for her psionic blades, as well as Mai, Hori, and Misaki, as they tried to use their telekinetic powers to break through the fortitude that was the mind of Magneto. Although his helmet made that impossible, but even without it, they weren't at a skill level strong enough to peer into the mind of such a man. They didn't have the mental fortitude to deal with someone like this. Magneto was able to move things with his mind at ease, metal to be specific. Taiga found herself dodging incoming cars, metal fixtures, poles, metal boxes, and all sorts of things that Magneto could fling at her. But still, for everything she dodged, there were a few hits that she just had to take head on. Although, the challenge would arise when Sakuta, appearing from out of nowhere as a blur, came pretty close to landing a punch on him. Sakuta heading close to Mai and standing beside her, making sure she was alright. "So, you've inherited the powers of my son. Truly fascinating. Although I'd have to say, you haven't quite matched up to what he was capable of. Because I know for a fact that he would have at least landed that hit. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not your son. And to be entirely honest, Sakuta would say, I don't want to be." Miyamura, Usui, and Ryuji would each follow up with attacks on Magneto as well, as he used his force fields to block away all 3 of them. Ryuji's fire, Usui and his kinetic attack enhanced cards, and Miyamura with his laser beams. Sunfire, Gambit, and the new Cyclops. I see that you are definitely one for nostalgia, Charles. But old sentiment and feeling will only get you so far. As all of them gathered together, Charles tried once again to speak reason with Magneto. "I am just trying to save Wanda. It doesn't have to be this way." "And am I stopping you? If you have a way of retrieving my daughter, then by all means do so. But once she is free, I am taking her with me, whether you like it or not." In the meantime, the Juggernaut was continuing his rampage. June had tried desperately to stop him many times, but his strength just wasn't able to match the behemoth of a man. "Is that it? Is that all you got, love? Surely I thought you'd be better than this." It's not all I've got. June desperately tried to tackle Juggernaut, only to be picked up and flung to the ground once again as he stomped on his chest, causing him to cough up blood. June desperately tried to push him off. Using both his arms and legs, he managed to lift Juggernaut up just enough to knock him onto his back. But it didn't last long, as June would be sent flying. Jiro and Akari would come running in, with Akari summoning up a storm as fast as she could, attempting to strike Juggernaut with lightning, although for him, it was little more than a tickle. Jiro would take the forefront of the fight next, as he created walls of ice attempting to slow him down. But as they say about the Juggernaut, once he gets started, he can't stop. The irresistible force meaning the immovable object. And for the Juggernaut, there wasn't an object that he couldn't move. He broke through wall after wall after wall. As he finally approached to where Jiro was, Akari yelled out to him, fearing the worst. It was only at the last second that Nagatoro would arrive and teleport him out of the way, as the Juggernaut seemingly stopped in his tracks, but only of his own accord. Naito and Nagatoro had arrived also. Now a 6-man team joined together to hopefully try to bring the Juggernaut down. The key word was hopefully. Teleporter, Permeation, Shadowcat, Nightcrawler. So, rumors are true. The X-Men's powers, the famed students of Charles Xavier, my brother, all given to the hands of children. Your brother? Yeah. Don't worry, it's not blood related. I know, I'm the good-looking one. If you say so, Nagatoro said. Chrome Dome. The Juggernaut simply grinned. Talk all you want, lass. But you and I both know that your powers are nothing more but parlor tricks. You don't have the strength to match with the likes of me. And if I'm being entirely honest, I didn't really come here to kill children. But if you're willing to put up a fight, and you can give me a decent challenge, I'll make a consideration. But I don't have time for weaklings. So, I'm going to give you a chance. Walk away in your spandex with your tails tucked between your legs, and I'll forget about you. Or, you can stay and fight. But I warn you, if you fight me, you accept the consequences of an adult, and I'll treat you as such. And when I treat you like an adult, it means I hit you like an adult. And when I hit you like an adult, it means I'll whoop your ass like an adult, whether you like it or not. Hey, Fatso! Off in the distance, Tomo was storming, and she was mad. Tomo, you're all right, June said. Ah, so it looks like Redhead's back for more. Say now, I like the fact that you were able to get back up. Perhaps you won't be a waste of time. Tomo would give him a series of kicks and punches before knocking him back just as much, as Juggernaut got on his feet once again. Now that's more like it. Someone who knows how to put up a fight. I always want to have a chance to get the first crack at him, June. I don't go down so easily. Tomo radiated battle aura as her metallic skin was in full force as she went charging straight towards the Juggernaut, and likewise. The two were like bulls, the Juggernaut picking up Tomo and giving her a serious body slam into the concrete ground. Tomo responding in kind as she would wrap around the Juggernaut and hit him with a devastating German suplex. It was almost like the two of them were having fun. I mean, seriously, it got to the point where it felt like they were having fun. I mean, Tomo would literally get smushed in the face, get dragged through the streets, and thrown into a series of power lines, only to get back up with a sinister smile. And the Juggernaut, oh, this is what he'd been waiting for. He didn't have powers of a mutant. That was entirely a misconception on everyone else's part. His powers actually came from a ruby crystal, a crystal of Sirak or something along those lines. Some interdimensional, powerful entity, eternal demon or whatnot. All he knows is that he had the power of the Juggernaut and he couldn't be stopped. But there were a few occasions with people who could give him a challenge, people who could really give him an edge. Colossus, for the X-Men, was that person. Oh yeah, the battles they had back in their heyday. The way that they were just able to take it to one another over and over again. Out of everyone in the X-Men, Colossus was the only one who was seemingly ever up for the task of trying to put up the hands. But when people lost their powers and the world seemingly returned to normal, for Juggernaut, in a weird way, it became sad. Why did he fight? Was it because his father was an abusive piece of crap? Was it because of some unresolved tension between he and his stepbrother Charles? Was it because of that stupid mission that they took grave robbing when he got left in the temple to die? Were these the sort of things he should talk to his therapist about? Probably. No, he just enjoyed kicking ass. But unfortunately, there was no more ass left to kick. Sure, he ran through some buildings, got into some fights with some cops. Didn't really do any good. The government tried to capture him a few times. He let himself get captured, and then he broke free because he got bored and the food was bleh. After a while, he put back down the helmet and he found a place to just retire in peace. He had no real qualms and no real ideals of getting back into the fighting business. Didn't really see a point in it. But then Magneto came calling, telling him that the mutants were back and that the Brotherhood was kind of getting back into the business of things. Well, for Juggernaut, it was a payday, so he needed the cash. But still, he didn't know what he was going to find in Japan. When he heard that a bunch of snot-nosed brats had gotten the powers of the X-Men, well, it had him mildly curious. Perhaps someone could give him the fight that he was looking for, a real challenge. And so far, he felt like he had found the one. Tomo felt like his soulmate, like a spiritual rival of sorts. In the grand scheme of things, he was still stronger than her, don't get it twisted, but still, he felt potential with this girl. The way that she could just take a punch. And he was only putting about 30% of his full capability into this fight. And she was hanging. You done yet? Not even quite. I gotta say, you're rather impressive. You've been able to take 30% of my power. Say, huh? What? 30%? What in the hell? Naito said. But now, let's kick it up a notch, shall we? Juggernaut went charging towards Tomo once again. But this time, he was to be stopped, not only by Tomo, but by June as well. And what's this? I thought you'd been getting out of the way of our squabble. I'm already tired of you. Now, run along. Let the big boys have their fun. Sorry, but if you're gonna fight with Tomo, you're fighting with me too. June grabbed his left arm while Tomo grabbed the right, the two of them lifting the Juggernaut off of the ground before delivering a double suplex slam onto the ground right behind them. Jiro would come flying through the air as he blasted him with as much ice as he could, trying to immobilize him just long enough. He tried to bury him in a tower of ice, but the Juggernaut was simply able to break free, vibrating his body enough until the large magnitudes of ice started to break away into chunks before being sent flying in every which way and direction. Whew! Huh. Last time I checked, It's supposed to be springtime. It's time to put Jack Frost on the shelf. Oh boy. Jiro simply gulped as the Juggernaut now had his sights set on him. Akari would try to affect the weather, summoning as many storm clouds as possible, as she rained down torrents of lightning straight towards the Juggernaut once again, concentrating each focused strike and attack directly at the behemoth, stunning him just long enough as Nagatoro would try to go in for any opening that she could see. She could teleport effectively enough, but outside of that, she didn't really have anything else to offer this time around. But Naoto had an idea. He would tell her to teleport him, get behind just close enough. When he wasn't looking, as Naoto had gotten behind him and touched him quickly, he had managed to use his permeation ability to drag the Juggernaut down to the ground, so that only his head was free. Once he came back out on the other side, the Juggernaut simply squirmed and moved, trying his best to break out of the restraints from underground. It was slowly starting to shake as the concrete was being ripped up all around him. They knew that this wasn't going to hold long enough, and they were going to need to come up with another plan, and fast. In the meantime, Wolverine found himself in the fight of his life with Sabretooth. Both of them were similar in terms of power and ability, save for one having claws jut out of his forearms, while the other one had the claws come from his fingertips. All in all, they were pretty close in all form of stats and ability, save for Sabretooth having the slighter edge over him. Logan wasn't even entirely sure why this was in the first place, but Sabretooth was just always his Achilles heel. Was it the familial bonds or something along those lines? Maybe. The two had been through a lot together on this earth, from the times that they fought side by side to now fighting as enemies. He didn't always used to be this way, no. There was a time when Sabretooth truly cared for his younger brother. You could say that he had a twisted form of love for his little brother, because he felt as though his little brother had so much potential. So much potential. In his younger years, he was wild, ravenous. They were both like rebels without a cause. They took on the world side by side, but somewhere along the way, the Wolverine got civilized. The Wolverine grew a conscience. Suddenly, the Wolverine didn't want to run with the pack like he used to. And well, being a loving older brother, it was only his duty that he tried to get his younger brother to snap back to his senses. And as such, he did everything in his power. Everything to try to get him to see reason. But it didn't matter how many times he attacked him. It didn't matter when he dragged his bitch of a girlfriend out to die. He always tried to hold on to that piece of him. Trying to get a man to break is a lot easier said than done. But whenever they fought, Logan just couldn't bring back that intensity that he used to have. Where was that Logan? Where was that Wolverine? Sabretooth grinned at his brother would try to stab at him once again, his healing factor already kicking in from that moment as he knocked him back. What's the matter, younger brother? This is what I've been talking about for so long. Where's that ferocity? Where's that intensity? Where's that burning anger? You used to have it. You used to have that spark. There was a time when I considered you my equal. But the way you are now, I doubt you could so much as hurt a fly, let alone bend me to my knee. It's because you haven't seen it yet. Logan lunged at him once again, but Sabretooth easily knocked him down. Pathetic. Weak. Miserable, that's what you are. You know something? All this time, I never came after you. You know why? Because I felt it was pointless. He kicked Logan across the ground. It was pointless trying to go after you. It didn't matter what I did. You didn't bother coming back for me. Because you're obsessed. It's pathetic of you, Sabretooth. Can't live your own life? What's the matter? Need me to tuck you in? Give you some cookies and milk? Read you a bedtime story? Don't try and act tough. Not around me. All these years, I didn't chase after you because there was nothing worth chasing. When Magneto gave me the offer, I didn't even want his damn money. All I wanted was a shot. A shot to see if maybe, just maybe, you'd step back into the ring one more time with me. If you could bring out your inner beast. But it's obvious that I was wrong. Perhaps your children will put up more of a fight than you. Sabretooth turned to see Yukana. He grinned wickedly, showing his teeth as he walked over to the girl, eyeing her, a predator ready to devour his prey. Yukana became filled with fear. Stay back! Stay away from me! Oh, don't be scared, little girl. Uncle Sabretooth just wants to play with you for a little while. He licked his lips as his fanged teeth began to show, the eyes of bloodlust taking over him. He wanted to break his little brother, and he had the perfect means to do it. Logan immediately came running as he jumped on the Sabretooth's back and stabbed him repeatedly. He brushed it off as he grabbed Logan by the throat and slammed him into the ground, repeatedly bashing the back of his head against the concrete. It's not enough. It's not enough. You gotta get Junichi, get out of here. Just run. I'll hold him off. Junichi had gotten to his feet, taking Yukana as the two of them were attempting to flee. If he could just use his damn wing, even if it was just for a minute, he could fly and get them out of there. But no, he was dead weight. He saw the fear in Yukana's eyes. He'd never seen her like this before. She was terrified. And that bastard made her that way. Sabretooth made short work of Logan as he stalked the kids. Yukana, you gotta go. What? You gotta go. I'll hold him off. You're better than me. You'll be able to... No! I'm not leaving. Yukana, please. I'm no good to you like this. I'm just a guy with a crippled wing. I'm not going to let him hurt you. Junichi, I'm not going to leave you like this. I'll be fine, okay? He grabbed onto Yukana and kissed her before pushing her as far back as he could, yelling at her to go. He turned back to see Sabretooth stalking. On the ground, Junichi saw that there was a wrench. It was the only thing he could grab hold of, so he took it. Oh, that's it. That's right, boy. Men don't run in a time like this. It's time for you to man up. You want to be an X-Man? Show me. Show me how much of an X-Man you are. Junichi charged towards Sabretooth, swinging blindly. Sabretooth dodged every single attack. This was hilarious. But what he didn't expect was to have two plasmids explode in his eyes. It was Yukana. It stunned the beast just long enough. Exactly what Junichi needed. Grabbing hold of the wrench, he aimed it right at his kneecap, hitting it with everything he had. Damn it! Yeah, not so fun, is it? Junichi took the wrench to the side of Sabretooth's head. It stunned him just long enough as he started raining down that wrench over and over again. You stay the hell away from Yukana! You got that? You sneaky little bitch! Fuck! He snapped Junichi's left wrist that held the wrench, causing him to drop it as he threw him across the ground. Jumping on him, he grabbed hold of his other wing. Using his claws, he started ripping and tearing it apart. Damn it! Oh no, we're not done yet. We're just getting started. I'm not gonna kill you. Not yet. I'm gonna hurt you really, really badly. I'm gonna make you regret the day that you were ever born. You hear me, you cocky son of a bitch! He would be attacked once more with the plasmids as Yukana rushed towards him. All sense of fear and hopelessness left the girl in that moment. The only thing that mattered was protecting Junichi, and she'd do so with her life. Stay away from him! You hear me, you monster! Stay the hell away! She unleashed a massive explosion, shooting off multiple plasmids towards Sabretooth, managing to knock him back just enough. However, the feral beast quickly rushed towards her and slapped her in the face, knocking her down to the ground once again. For Junichi, all sense of rational thinking went out the window. He attempted to tackle Sabretooth, scratching, clawing, punching, doing everything he could with just one hand. He didn't care if he died. It didn't matter to him. As long as she was safe, then he'd do it. He'd fight for as long as he could. It didn't matter if he didn't have his wings. It didn't matter if he couldn't use his arms. He'd fight with his legs. He'd fight with his mouth. He'd throw everything he had at this bastard until he had nothing left. But seeing what had happened to his students, as Logan got back up, watching Junichi fight desperately as Sabretooth picked him up by the throat and began to squeeze the life out of him. He doesn't remember what happened next. If you try and ask him today, he'd probably still never remember. Everything went black. And by the time he woke up, Sabretooth lied on the ground in a pool of his own blood. His body looking like it had gone through a meat grinder. Flesh and ligaments hanging off the bone. Barely breathing and holding on to life. Puncture wounds in his head and in his chest. The ligaments in his legs being slashed and hacked. Logan's hands were soaked in the blood of his brother. Yukana cradling Junichi on the ground. As she looked to her teacher with a sense of thankfulness, but reverence, and even tinges of fear, because she never thought she'd see Something so horrific. What he did to Sabretooth. Something that words cannot fully convey. But this commentator can say one thing. Sabretooth wanted to see that beast of a brother that he used to have. I can confirm to you, he got exactly what he wished for. In the meantime, Magneto still found himself toying with the likes of Sakuta, Usui, Miyamura, and Ryuji. The girls were attempting to help where they could, but they still prioritized in helping to get Wanda back. The Nexus was now reaching its critical mass and point. It was now or never. The boys were attempting to hold off Magneto as best they could, but still their power could only get them so far. Taiga wanted to help them. She was more than willing to keep up the fight, but she was needed with the others. As they looked to the sky, it appeared as though there were a sphere, a black sphere. It just hovered above them, with the storm forming all around, the crimson winds and clouds moving back and forth. It felt like they were in the center of a vortex, of a hurricane of massive calamities. Buildings were being ripped from their fixtures. All of Kyoto had seemingly become hell on earth. "What the hell is that thing?" Hori said. "I can feel her," Mai said. "You're right," Misaki chimed in. "She's here. But what is that thing?" "It's the barrier," the professor said. "Taiga, you have to cut through it. You have to release it and bring her back." "But wait," Misaki said. "If we cut through this thing, what if she doesn't come back? The density, it's enormous. It feels like a bomb," Mai said. "Exactly. It's like a bomb. Professor, if we try to bring her back, I don't think all of Kyoto is going to..." They weren't sure what to do. Do they free her? If they do, all that residual energy will go out along with it. No telling what will come out on the other side. Could they afford to take this risk? For Taiga, she was ready to end it all. She summoned her psionic blade as she took a deep breath and lunged into the air. Jumping as high as she could, she took the blade and brought it down on the black ball sphere itself, attempting to cut it in half and free it open. She put everything she had into that strike, but it repelled her, sending her back down once again. "So, that is her," Magneto said. Usui attempted to throw another volley of cards, all charged with sparked kinetic energy. Magneto simply held up his hand, moving a metal lead pipe, catching all the cards with ease as it spun around, before knocking the explosion right back at him. Miyamura would go to Hori's side to make sure she was okay. "Hey, you still with us?" "I'm fine, you dummy." "What's he doing?" "He's attempting to form a magnetic barrier around the black sphere. If this is what she's in, I'll take it from here. I'll be able to free her." "No, it's too dangerous. There's no telling what'll happen. It might not even save her. It could cause an explosion that'll do irreparable damage. All the powers of every mutant, seemingly on all the earth, is involved into that sphere. If you release all that power, Eric, you'll destroy all of Japan." "It's a risk that I have to take." "Are you insane?" Eric, stop this! Magneto refused to listen as he formed an electromagnetic sphere around the black sphere. Even with that, he could hardly move it from its stationary position in the sky. The density was enormous. If he could apply just enough force, perhaps he could crack it open. He clutched both his hands together and began to push, pushing with all his might. Wanda, it's me, your father. I've come to bring you home. I'm going to free you from this. Father? Yes, your father. I am here to set you free. You're bad. What? You're bad. No, I'm not. Why? Why did you leave us? Why did you leave us? There were many things to the past of Magneto. He didn't know about the twins, about Wanda and Pedro. No, for a time he thought that he had lost his children in birth. When they came to him years later of age, while he was grateful for them, he could never say that he was the best father. He was a father that was simply never around. For Wanda and for her brother, they lived a life that was not for the faint of heart. Growing up in a small village, ostracized by many, viewed as demon children, all they had were each other. Their mother died shortly after their birth, and they were raised by their grandmother. Their grandmother took care of them, raising them, protecting them. But even she could not stop the fears of the village that believed that the children she were raising were the spawns of Satan, that they would bring doom to them all. A prophecy that went through the village that told of an unspeakable evil. Wanda was dubbed as the Scarlet Witch, a moniker that has lived with her whole life. The day she knew that she would never go back to being how she used to be was the day she and her brother came back home and found the corpse of their grandmother hung up on a tree. From then on, the children were hunted by the villagers. They did not wish to just let them roam out into the world and potentially bring that evil onto other unsuspecting folk. No, they were going to kill them themselves. But was this not the story of most mutant children? Children all around the world? It's often said that God loves and man kills. And during this time, it proved to be ever so prevalent. It wasn't uncommon for children to leave their homes, mutant children, and never come back. It wasn't uncommon to see their bodies hanging up on the swings in parks. Even Magneto could attest to this. His children suffered under that same fate. But Wanda had enough. She remembered when she used her powers. She killed them all. Everyone in that mob, every single one of them. She didn't mean to. She didn't mean for it to happen, just like she didn't mean to take away all of the powers. There was just so much happening that day. They were fighting her father who was leading this tireless war. Mutants killing mutants, humans killing mutants. Mutants killing humans. All this warfare, this blood, the pain. And then she appeared. The other Wanda. A psychotic Wanda. A psychotic Scarlet Witch from another dimension. She remembered as plain as day when she stepped forward into her mind space. Why are you here? Who are you? I am you. I need your help. I need your power to save my children. Don't fight. At first, she thought that helping wouldn't be so bad, but when she looked into her consciousness, when she saw all the things that her other self were capable of, all the lives she had ruined, the worlds she had destroyed, it caused her to fear herself. Was that all she was ever meant to do? To cause evil, harm to everyone? She just wanted it all to stop. No more mutants. Between the fighting with the people on the outside, fighting with herself on the inside, feeling as though she had no control. No matter what dimension, no matter what reality, it was always the same. Was she always the bad guy? Was she always evil? Was she just destined to be this way? This was her one act of kindness in her eyes. All she had to do was get rid of it. That's why that wave of energy came from her that day, the day that she took away all of their powers. But save for the professor. Surprisingly enough, the reason why he was spared, it was because he was within her mindscape. It afforded him a form of immunity, of protection. Protection that transferred to the closest mutant that was near him at the time. That was Logan, who at the time was fighting Sabretooth. You could say that it was a perfect storm, a perfect situation. The perfect outcome to avoid the ultimate disaster, if you will. Juggernaut was never a mutant to begin with, so he wouldn't be affected. Magneto, he indeed lost his powers, but, well, you know what they say about roaches and radioactive disasters. There was just something about him. It didn't matter how many times he tried to take his powers away. Perhaps it was something even greater than just his powers itself. There was something within his mind, a mental fortitude. There was a piece of him that was so strong that it could even fight off the hex of the Scarlet Witch. Just barely, like a candle that's been bombarded with rain. And you think that after all the droplets of water, it would put out the fire. But just a tiny wick remains. And from that tiny wick of flame, a new fire springs forth. That was the essence of Magneto. That is what he truly represented. He was the cause that would not die. The flame that just would not burn out. From that day on, he searched for her. Because above everything, he was nothing more but a father. And for all the times that he wasn't there for his kids, he wanted to be there now. To save her, to protect her, by any means. The black sphere could not be contained. It rejected him, pushed him away. The others were attempting to hold it in place. The boys holding up one last front against Magneto once again. Tyga was the only one that could free her. Misaki, she had a better idea. It has to be me. What? I can stop it. How? I'll absorb the power. If she has too much of it, No, Usui said. That's too much. If you try to take all of that power into yourself, you're going to... It'll be all right, Usui. No! I'm not going to let you do that! We'll find something out. We'll make another plan. I'm not letting you do this. Misaki pulled Usui close to her for a change. The boy was absolutely stunned because it was a change of pace. She never did this. Their lips would connect. Usui felt his stamina draining from him in that moment. As he slowly crumbled and fell to the ground, she caught him and laid him down gently. You didn't see that coming, did you? Misaki, please. It'll be all right. Just leave it to me. As she took a deep breath, she asked for assistance getting to the sphere. They would lower it to her until she was eye to eye with it, as she reached out both her hands and grabbed hold of the black orb. She took a deep breath and removed her gloves. Holding on to it, she felt the power and the sensation, her consciousness moving to another plane of existence. She was in the center of a tornado, the eye of the storm, a crimson storm. And in the sea of black, there was a little girl, no older than 8 or 9. Her hair disheveled, tears streaming from her eyes. It was little Wanda. Make it stop! Make it stop! Make it stop! Hey now, it's you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. It'll be all right. I'm here to get you out, okay? I can't go back. They'll hate me. I ruin everything. I always do. I don't want to hurt anyone. I promise you won't. I promise, okay? We're gonna help you. You're going to get through this, and we're gonna be all right. Please, just trust me. The little girl wasn't sure what to do in that moment. Misaki reached out her hand towards her. Slowly, she would reach back as Misaki took her into herself. Through the storm, she felt away, pulling out little Wanda. As they did so, on the outside, the storm was reaching critical mass. It felt like this was going to be the end. In the meantime, the others were still fighting off the juggernaut desperately. Akari and everyone seemed nearly wiped out. The juggernaut stammering back to his feet. All right, enough games. It's over. Akari. Jiro looked to her. I'm not leaving you. June? Yeah, Tomo? No regrets? No regrets. Hey, Nagatoro, if this is how it ends, I just wanna... Nagatoro would simply kiss him, because it looked like this was going to be the end for them. I think I'm gonna take him to the bottom of the sea. You're gonna what? I mean, come on. You don't think this big oaf can swim, do you? But Nagatoro, you can't teleport him. His mass, it's too big and it's just... I'll be alright. I promise, Senpai. No one's making a sacrifice here, Jiro said to the group. No matter what happens, if we're gonna take him down, we're gonna take him down together. In the meantime, with the professor and the others, they watched as the sphere began to glow, glowing brightly as if it were getting ready to set off a triggered explosion. At this point in range, trying to run would be pointless. Usui simply lied there, hoping that if this was the end, then at least they'd get to be together in the afterlife. Hori and Miyamura, they held hands and sat together. Miyamura? Yes, Hori? Turn around. He turned to face her as she reached to remove the visors around his eyes and... No, Hori, don't do that. You know I can't look at you without them, and just trust me. He lifted them as she told him to open his eyes. As he did so, Hori was using what power she had left to keep the beams in check from jutting out, giving him a chance of clarity to see her in full color. If it was the last thing he'd ever see, she wanted it to be of her. Miyamura was moved to tears at this. He tried to roll with the punches with a lot of things, but honestly, this was the one thing that truly made him upset. The idea that he'd never get a chance to see Hori in this way. Ryuji, meanwhile, sat on a pile of rubble with Taiga. Hey there. Hey. I'm sorry. Here I was thinking I was going to do a good job of protecting you, and it's all come down to this. Hey, don't be like that. Even if this is the end for all of us, and all of Japan ends up getting engulfed in a giant fiery ball of death, I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather be with in this moment. You are my dog, after all. No. You're a dragon. And dragons stand beside their tigers. I love you, Ryuji. I love you too, Taiga. They all waited. Mai and Sakuta. So, it's not too late. Too late for what? We could try to go back in time again. Yeah, but that doesn't feel right. Where will we even go? How will we even fix this? Yeah, you got a point. Mai would step on Sakuta's foot before giving him a kiss on the cheek. I could give you the other thing if you want, but I like it like this. The ball of light would begin to glow and expand. However, that fiery death and destruction that you thought would come with an explosion of this magnitude never did. A waving energy and aura washed all over Japan. But it didn't result in any form of death or things of that nature. No. Instead, they were all still there. Everything was all perfectly fine. When they all looked to where the glowing orb had once been, all that was standing there was Misaki holding a small child in her arms. It was Wanda. Everyone raced over towards her, making sure she was all right. As Magneto slowly staggered to his feet, he couldn't believe it. It was her. Finally, things were going to be different now. He was going to. Thankfully, Tyga acted quickly. She raced behind Magneto. Professor X yelled out for Tyga to stop, fearing that she was going to take his life. By the time Magneto turned around, she had closed the gap. Her psionic sword close in hand. "Sucks to be you, old man." He prepared himself. He let his guard down, and this was the price he'd pay. However, she wasn't aiming to take his life. She cut the helmet from his head, removing it and giving them free access. Professor X jumped at the opportunity as he plunged himself into his mind. It wasn't easy. In all of the time since they had last seen each other, Magneto had been building up his mental fortitude to be able to combat the likes of Charles Xavier. As they found themselves in the same mental state on another plane of existence, Charles and Eric stood face to face. Crafty little fox she is. Obviously, you had a hand in training her. Had it been me, she would have gone in for the kill, Charles said, without question. All that potential, and yet you're still soft. Eric, this has to stop. It doesn't have to be this way. Oh, really? And what now? We can't go back to how things used to be. But what if we can? There's a chance for us to make things right. A chance for us to start anew. I want to believe that. I really, really do. But I know you, Charles. I know you better than you know yourself. You may think that my way is barbaric, but your way is no better. Then why don't we let them show the way? We let them have a chance to decide. Well, I'm in checkmate, am I not? You are in my mind, and you have those who can help you. It's your move. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to take away your free will. No one has that right, Eric. What you choose to do, that is on you. I can only hope and pray that you will make the right choice. Please, let me help you. It's too late for me. However, I can do right by her. I saw into her mind. I saw everything that happened. I saw the way she looks at me, what she truly thinks of me. To her, I'm nothing but a monster. And she's right. I've acted like one up until now. And nothing I say or do will change or take away what I've done. I'm going to trust you, Charles. And I'm going to trust that you will do right by her. That you'll do right by these kids. I don't want them to turn out like we did. You know I won't let that happen. You better. When they came back into reality, Magneto took his leave. The others stood on guard, ready for a fight if necessary, but Charles would tell them to stand down. There was no need to engage. They simply watched as Magneto would walk away. In the meantime, with the others, Juggernaut had no idea what had just transpired, but, oh well. Who's up for round 5? Before he even had a chance, though, his metal helmet would be removed from his head by Magneto. Juggernaut looking up to see what had happened. Hey now, what's this? I thought we were on the same side. Change of plans. Mission's over. You can go home. What? Go home? Nah. You don't tell me what to do, Magneto. I do as I damn well please. And this fight ain't over until it's over. Very well then. Charles, I leave him to you. With help from Hori and from Mai, the three would enter into Juggernaut's mind. Without that helmet as a form of protection, they were easily able to intercept his thoughts and pacify him. The destruction was quite great, but thankfully, casualties had been avoided. Not too long after, a group would arrive to pick up Juggernaut, taking him to a secure facility where hopefully he wouldn't be able to break free. Logan had a sneaking suspicion that Kyosuke was behind this, sort of as a way of making good and covering their tracks. But now, things had changed. Operation Rescue the Witch, while troublesome, proved to be effective. Everyone was still worried about Junichi. He was recovering in the infirmary. It'd take some time, but hopefully he'd be back up to speed. Yukana was staying by his side. She wasn't leaving him for a moment. But for now, what were they going to do? They had freed the Scarlet Witch, but now they had another issue. This wasn't the adult version of the Scarlet Witch. No, this was a child. A child with unstable powers and abilities. A child that they were going to have to hope could harness their skills and try to reverse what had been done. It's like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, Logan said to the professor. Maybe, but it's a start. If they find out about her, you know they're going to come after her with everything they've got. They will try. I do not seek violence, Logan, the professor said. But I pity anyone who comes to my school looking for a fight. For now, though, they can only look on to the future. Looking on to the better things ahead. For old time's sake, the professor would put on Cerebro once again. He wasn't sure of what he'd find or what he'd expect. He just liked to scope through to see if there was anyone out there. When he put on Cerebro, what he found, well, safe to say, it looked like they might need to start making some more room. The professor slowly put down the Cerebro helmet. Logan looking to the professor with a confused look on his face. What? What is it? You see something? Yes. All across Japan. What? Logan asked. More mutants. Logan, I know what you're... Just stay calm. We're going to need more people. I can't be the only teacher here. We have some people we can call. Some old friends. Are you... Okay, and let's assume we call them. Do you really think they're going to show up? Yes. I know they will. All around the world, there were individuals. At one point in time, they were known as the X-Men. However, when they lost their powers, they thought that life had ended for them. Some went back to their homes, home countries, traveled extensively far, living a mundane and ordinary life. That was until they felt a call, a familiar call. Within their minds, they heard a voice that they had not heard in years. A voice that said 5 familiar words. To me, my X-Men. This concludes X-Men: The Next Generation. What if Wolverine trained the X-Men? Season 1, Part 10, the Season 1 finale. Now, like I always do when we get to the end of a season for a series or the end of a particular set of stories, I always like to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has supported this series on the channel. It has been surprisingly one of the more popular anime Marvel stories that I've done here on the channel. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first came up with the idea, it was a big risk, a big gamble. I didn't think you guys were gonna like it. I didn't think you guys were even gonna be into something like this. It was definitely out of left field, but to see the support you guys have had for it, the suggestions, everything, truly means a lot to me. I apologize ahead of time if for this season finale, if I didn't use the characters to their fullest potentials. It was a lot of characters to try to keep track of, but I hope I did justice by as many of them as I could. I do have roles for a lot of them going forward in the story. For those of you wondering, yes, there are going to be more characters added to the roster. Not too many, because in the grand scheme of things, you know, I can only add but so many characters before it gets watered down. You know, outside of like the heavy hitters for like the X-Men, there are a lot of obscure characters that I want to use, rest assured. But yeah, probably not going to add too many more. In the grand scheme of things, I don't want to get over 40 characters if necessary. Like, it might get to that point sooner or later where I'll have around a lot of different characters. But we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. Next year, when it comes to this series, this is where I'm going to put it on you guys, because the views have kind of been falling off a little bit. So, you know, whenever I give you guys a like goal, it normally keeps you on your toes. So if you guys really want another season of this, if you want season 2 of What If Wolverine Trained the X-Men, then you have to get this video to 100 likes. That's right, you heard me. This is going to be the biggest like goal that we have ever done here on PowerCore Productions. Now, the reason for this is because I really want to see from the engagement with my audience if this is a series you really want to see continue. Because I'm not going to lie, I've already got the storyboards for what seasons 2 and what season 3 will be. I'm trying to keep this series to around 4 or 5 seasons max. Like, that's kind of like what my range is going to be. There are also going to be some tie-in series as well, other series that are X-Men related that will be taking place in this universe as well. So if you're wondering if there's going to be more, yes, there will be more. But ultimately, if you guys want any of this to continue, then I'm going to need 100 likes. That's right. You have till the end of the year to get this video to 100 likes. Get it to 100 likes, and I promise you we will do season 2. But other than that, thank you to everyone who support it. Like I always say, can't do it without you. You make the channel grow. You make the core grow. Thank you for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of Season 1 and for the end of this video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.